Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. This is Lord Shaffer here. So, we're not talking about ready to love. We're going to talk about 50-50. Like, I'm just going to ramble on for a few minutes because it keeps coming up. And when I say it keeps coming up, when I'm talking about the show, it just keeps coming up. So I just let me hammer it out, because I know in the past I've kind of talked about, women feeling safe, and when I put up little snippets here and there, I have, the dog pound jumping in the comments. Well, not, they're actually, no, it's half and half. But there are the odd gentlemen who jump in, howling about one thing or the other. So I feel the need to talk about it. So here goes. Before I start, please don't forget to like the video, y'all. Like the video. And tell me what you think. I'd love to hear what your thoughts are on this, because this is going to be an issue, apparently. It's going to be an ongoing issue, apparently. And then if you haven't subscribed, please hit the subscribe button. When we're talking about 50-50, we're talking about, partnerships in terms of marriage, life partner, a committed relationship, whatever the case may be, whatever it is for you, that's what it is. And if I'm just to kind of go off to the side here, to me, because I'm the one talking, I don't have a panel right now, but it'll be lovely to make this a panel discussion. To me, what does marriage mean to me? What does it look like to me? To me, a marriage is a union between two people that really is not just about agape love and romantic love, but also an opportunity to grow. You meet with someone at some point in time. There's a reason why you guys got together. If it was an organic makeup, there's a reason why you guys got together. And if you have the right foundation, that person is going to trigger you in some ways, in ways that will make you grow, and you will trigger that person in ways that they will grow. And if you guys can find a place where you can both grow together, and not just as a people, but actually grow things, produce things, have a partnership that actually is fruitful, not just with children, but things that you create. You both can create something and leave behind a legacy. That to me is what a marriage looks like, where marriage, the purpose of marriage, which is why it's important to have God, whoever you recognize as God, Allah, God, Jesus Christ, however to have him in the mix, because the marriage is such a relationship that will test and try you, because the real purpose of being married is at times you're being selfless. But marriages that are successful is when the other person is thinking about you and you're thinking about the other person. So for example, you're doing everything you can to make that person comfortable, have peace, relieving stress, relieving pressure. You can't make anyone happy. So I won't say it's your job to make someone happy, but you're trying your best to make their existence comfortable, and their existence comfortable in a way that they would recognize as comfortable, not the way you would recognize as comfortable. And that's where, where all the love languages come into it. Because if I do something that I would recognize as, loving, but they don't recognize as loving, then really am I being loving to them? So that's where you need to understand what your partner recognizes as love. And if your partner likewise is doing the same for you, then both people's needs are being met and you're serving a higher purpose. You bring children into it, you grow something, you build something. A union, to me, a successful union has to be fruitful. And fruitful doesn't always just mean children. Fruitful in terms that you've created something between the two of you, because you do have that terminology in the Bible, like what one will slay 1,000, but two like minds in sync will slay 10,000. So if you're coming to a partnership, it's for the purpose to grow, not just to be stagnant and stay and be. So for me, that's what a marriage is. It's an opportunity to grow. Now, when the opportunities to grow, they're never easy. When they say, when a test becomes a testimony, you're going to go through trials and tribulations. But if there is an understanding and a great, strong foundation, then you'll come out of that and be greater than you were before that. Which is why a lot of cultures recognize when they say man who is married. And I say man because that's usually a lot of the cultures who are, paternalistic. Or when they say a man who is married, there's a certain level of respect they give him, because for that reason, you marry someone and you do it the right way, you will go through trials and tribulations. But if you're consistent and considerate, and it's not a toxic relationship, on the other end, you both become even, you become if you started as whole human beings, you'll be human beings that have grown even further, and you'll be a benefit to people around your society, because I feel our purpose here really is to uplift one another. So if as partners you've uplifted each other, then you begin to uplift your surroundings. So anyway, so I've kind of put what I feel like a marriage, relationship, partnership is, what it looks like to me. So now we're saying the ultimate is, building, growing, right? So when you meet someone and you're dating, because I don't want to say it's the new thing, but it's now the thing where there's a lot of, I don't want to use arrogance, maybe I could use that, sense of entitlement that's been thrown around when males, I don't want to call them men, when males talk about this 50-50 scenario. Is there something wrong with going 50-50? Let's talk about it. So you meet someone, you're in a relationship with someone, you're in a marriage with someone, he's in a situation where he can't afford everything. And you can kind of meet and you can jump in and do things. Is there something wrong with 50-50? No, there isn't. You could even have started a relationship with someone who was financially stable. He hit hard times, something happened, the business is kind of shaky. And so you step up. As the partner, you step up and jump in and help. You kick in and you step up to help. That can happen. So that's not the issue. I think my issue with the terminology 50-50 that's been bandied around today is that the first question is, what is the intent and desire behind that request? Because not usually a woman that comes up with that issue. No, there's not usually a woman that starts that conversation. I said not usually. I didn't say not always. So please don't jump in underneath and tell me blah, blah, blah. I'm saying not usually. It's usually a man who might come in during the dating process and tell you his philosophy, that he might be a 50-50 kind of guy. And, a couple dates in, he want you to cover some of the dates. My issue with that is the intent and desire. And what do I mean by intent and desire? What is the main purpose of coming up with that? Because to me, it's like when you broach that topic of 50-50, yeah, we're going down the middle. It sounds so clinical, aseptic, and clean. It sounds like a business to me. Like we coming just straight off the bat, we're talking about 50-50, or even worse when you all talk about like let's pay the bills in percentages. And he knows that he make less than you. So what he say, he looking for someone to buttress his costs, and he gonna pay less. So maybe he's been covering his expenses before, but then all of a sudden he meets a woman who's might be doing well, and he's like, not only are we not doing 50-50, we're gonna do percentages. So you're gonna pay 60 and he gonna pay 40. I have an issue with that. I'm sorry, and this is why. Because it really makes it sound like a business partnership. It makes us sound like if we're going to move in together, like we roommates, we split the bills down the middle, we're real estate partners. Like when it breeds a room in my mind for creating competition between each other. It seems almost adversarial. Because to me, the way I described a marriage or relationship or partnership, where you're trying to do for the other and the other's trying to do for you, that tells me straight off the bat, when you look at me, you're not looking at, oh, I want to care for her, oh, I want to pamper her, oh, I just want to I want to see her smile, I want to make her happy. That he's not thinking that even though I can't do it now, it's going to be temporary. He's not thinking like his situation is temporary. He's content where he is because now he's found somebody else to buttress his costs. So he just want to chill and sit back. And that's the issue. It's like, yo, you got this, so I don't need to do anything. I can chill back and do nothing. Because there are some men who you may meet off the top who aren't doing as well. But in their mind, their goal, their ambition, they have ambition to do more for themselves and for you. But you can't expect someone to do more for you than they will do for themselves. So do I want to be with someone who doesn't want to do for himself, talk less to do for me? Because the whole purpose of the union is to do for each other. If I'm doing for you, but you don't do for yourself, so you're not going to do for me. You just found a convenient option where, yeah, now he can drive the Mercedes and live in a comfortable house because now he got someone to split the bills with. Whereas before he was probably having to rent and was, using all his money to pay for the Mercedes. So that's the main issue. It's like, What is he thinking? What's his intent for me? What's his desire for me? Because if he doesn't have a great intent and desire for himself, he's not going to have a great intent and desire for me. And I keep talking biblically because it's the Bible, but if you're a Muslim, you can talk about the Quran. I'm sure the Quran spits stuff out there too about, being a provider. There's a distinction between being a male, you were born a male, and becoming a man. There's a rite of passage. And unfortunately, due to times and us pushing the needle all the way to the left, from patriarchy, trying to women are property, then always going on to the left to the convenience of a lot of men. Now it's like, oh well, she got this, she can do that. But ultimately, I think in a relationship, and let me give you this disqualifier too. At no point in time can anyone dictate to you what your relationship should look like. Ultimately, the two people involved decide what it looks like. They decide what works for them, how it's going to work ultimately. So please take that into mind. That is the ultimate. The two of you decide how it looks, and if it works for you, you like it, I love it. But what I'm saying here is, like, when I just hear these random conversations, people just jumping off, whether it's a mic or they're just talking on a show or just having conversation, it's just this attack. And to me, it feels like an attack, because it's like there's some question as to why some of us might have an issue with the 50-50. And it's simply that, because if I'm looking at you as a man, I'm looking at you as a covering, a provider. And I'm not just talking about money, I'm talking about covering, creating a safe space. But if you're looking at me as the other half of the bills, is your interest really in providing or covering for me? No. Is your interest in creating a safe space for me? No. Is your interest in making things softer for me so I can actually blossom? Because the way it's being created, yes, we both have feminine and masculine energies, but for a woman to truly sit in her feminine and to be soft, loving, nurturing, kind, perceptive, intuitive, there must be some comfort around her. She must feel that she's in a safe space. And that is the benefit of a partnership. If you have a woman in her feminine and a man in her masculine, not that they won't kind of switch back and forth within that, but just dominating in that space. That's a true partnership, because she will see what he can't see and he will see what she can't see. And then so she's strong where he's weak and he's strong where she's weak. So you're not covering, you cover each other 360. But when you have this thing of like 50-50, so I'm off to work, running rah rah rah, and then he off to work rah rah rah, like, who's taking, so we're both running around in our masculine. Who's covering the stuff where feminine energy needs to be? Because if you're expecting her to just put her hat off and become feminine, but you're just going to sit in your mask, it can't follow. Yes, can we go back and forth? Yes, we can. But if you're expecting her to do 50-50, so you're saying you won't be spending 50% of your time in masculine, are you going to spend 50% of your time in feminine? Like you're expecting her to? Because at the end of the day, we're all humans. And yes, there are roles that we define between the two of us, but it's not realistic to expect her to be able to flip back and forth, and you can't. That's where the issue lies. And other than that, when you love someone, you love to see joy in their face. Do you really derive pleasure or joy in seeing me comfortable and at peace? I'm feeling safe, I'm feeling loved. Do you get some joy from that? Or is it just the other half of the bills that I'm bringing? Those are the questions we ask ourselves now when it becomes, part of the beginning of the conversation. Can we start off doing it? Yeah, but if that's your intent, like you're not trying to move from that, then that's an issue, because you're not trying to grow. So the question now is I feel like a lot of times when these situations develop, when you come into a situation and you agree to a 50-50, you're both splitting everything down the middle, everything's very clinical and driven by your numbers, accounting, there will be a lack of feminine energy in that relationship. And if there's a lack of feminine energy in that relationship, there's going to be a lack of nurturing, there's going to be a lack of love. There's going to be a lack of warmth, because she's now required to operate in her masculine more than she needs to. But you're going to have some issue with that. Your whole reason for wanting to be with a woman is partially for some of her feminine energy, but you've already started off the cuff from the rip saying, like, I'm going to require you to be in your masculine to do this, because to do many of these jobs and to do it the way it's done to meet to 50-50, you're going to have to live in your your masculine more as a woman, period. And is there anything wrong with doing that sometimes? But when that's the expectation with no end in sight, then that kind of takes you more outside of what you're really created for. The next question I would ask when you get together with a man, the assumption is that he has a vision and a goal, both for himself and hopefully for the family that you're trying to create. If he's coming into it off the bat with just a 50-50 with no end in sight, it's like, does he have a vision for himself? If he doesn't have a vision for himself, then he doesn't have a vision for you. And likewise for the family that you guys decide to create. And we know what it's like with a man without a vision is a man with no direction. And that's for all humans. If you don't have a vision, then you have no direction. You fall for anything. If you fail to plan, you plan to fail. So, biblically, the man is meant to be head of the household. He's meant to be to sit down and discuss with his wife the vision he has for the family. Of course, she jumps in and says these things. But at this point, if that's not the dynamic in terms of what do we have as a vision, as a unit, what's the vision for this unit? What is our plan for growth? If that's not the case, then what is the purpose of the partnership? What is the purpose of the union? It can't be just for intimacy, because very quickly that can go south. Like, intimacy is not enough to hold people together. A purpose holds people together. And if there's no purpose, then what's the point? Was his purpose just to seek a partner who would make his life easier, more convenient and comfortable? So can it start off 50-50? It can. Like I said, if he's got couple things in the air, but he's going to sit with you and tell you what the vision is. And the vision shouldn't include you living in your masculine most of the time. Can it become 50-50 in the midst of a relationship? Yes, it can. Because like I said, he can fall on hard times. And you're there to hold him up because that's your partner. But should the intent be that it should remain 50-50? From my point of view, that should not be the intent. That's if you as a woman would like to live more in your feminine. Most of us are used to going to work, staying our masculine, do this, do that, do this, do that. But if your intent is to be more in touch with yourself, be more familiar with the feminine side of yourself, then you don't want to sign up for a lifetime deal of living in your masculine, only to be disliked and criticized for the very thing he required of you. Because then you can't flip just comfortably between to be masculine, all of a sudden switch it off and become feminine. No, the very thing he required of you to become that 50-50 is the very thing he's going to despise about you at the end of the relationship. So these are the questions you as a woman need to ask yourself when you hear them, talking about it, theoretically. Like, it's an ideology, but when you break it down to like, really, what does it mean? If it works for you, then by all means, go for it. But if you've broken down and thought about it, if it works for you, don't just jump into a partnership with someone. When you have a partnership with someone, particularly in marriage, who you marry can determine or will determine the direction and the tone of your life. And we have one life to live. We don't have a second trial for a rerun. That's it. You got whatever years you got. If you use them wisely, great. If you don't, you squander it, then you squandered it. If you don't, it's all on you. God has given us free will. We're meant to appreciate this life, understand it, to learn a lesson. And the thing is with life too, these lessons, we don't learn them the first time. You have to retake the class. Like some people are retaking class 6, 7, 8, 9 times without the degree yet, same class. So instead of talking about it or talking at it, I would like us to really break it down and what does it mean for the individuals involved. Because ultimately it's going to be about the individuals involved. So I just close out with, the next time you hear some guy talk about 50-50, you're meant to be a helpmate and all this, ask him to really break down what that means. Let him really define it for you. What's his vision for his life, for his partner, and for his family that will likely form? And when I say family, I'm not just talking about children. Because a union is meant to, create something. It's meant to have a fruit. Something should come from that union. There should be a purpose for that union, not just to come together and split bills. So you let him break it down. If it makes sense to you, then by all means go for it. But if he has nothing to say, then sis, think twice. that's just my little musings about 50-50 scenario, because I've just about had it, as you can tell. And I'm probably not going to be able to dead this like I want to. It's going to come up, but I just wanted to put all my thoughts together in one space about this particular topic, because it's coming up a lot. I just keep you go on social media. I'm not going to go on social media platforms, and you see and hear all sorts. People who they should snatch the mic from talk about they got something smart to say about 50-50 with no clue, with no vision, no thought involved, just to yam around, just to say they have something to say. Anyway, guys, so that's it. And you know, the more I get to talk to you all in the comments down there, I would love to get a couple of us together, the old gang, throw the crew together and make this a panel discussion, because it's not a new topic, but it's the the vigor in which I've been hearing it discussed now that just had me like, yeah, let me say some. So you know, I definitely love to get some people together and broaden this topic. But you know, guys, for now, this is it for me about the 50-50 thing. Let me know what y'all think in the comments. Please don't forget to like the video, hit the subscribe button. This is me, Lola, over and out. Thanks.